Visit Avery.com, Avary, for the most up-to-date news and information on Team Avery.
Avery, 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 Avery,
This is The Gala Show. I'm your reporter on the beat, Gala Avery. On this episode, you may know my guest as a podcast and audio producer pro who has worked on shows such as Choice Words and Unspooled, or as the, quote, voice of God on Video Archives podcast. But here on The Gala Show, I simply know him as the guy who was in the trenches alongside me during season 1 of Video Archives, my fellow producer, Josh Richmond. Hey, Josh.
It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to just be a normal voice on mic instead of the voice of God.
I know. I was telling Josh before we started that it is kind of funny that I am the one recording him now instead of him recording me.
It's great. Yeah, I've literally, especially the after shows and stuff. It was often just the two of us in the booth, and like I'm recording you and walking you through it. So
yeah,
that would really reversed
my script, and like you taught me so much about everything, and so it's so funny because literally you and I did a whole 52 episodes together. So here we are now. The tables have turned. So before we bring up the topic for today, I have a question for you. You're currently working on your very first video game called Doomsday.
Yeah.
How did this come about?
When I was in college, I actually joined on an early AP computer science major. I'd taken a bunch of computer science classes in high school, and I was like, I really enjoy coding. I think I have a knack for it. I want to kind of go that direction. I already had ideas when I was 16 or 17 of like it would be really fun to be in a video game designer or get into video game design. And then I got to college. I got to UC Santa Cruz. I started taking computer science classes. I was like, wow, this is way too much work. I kind of just want to like go. I kind of want to just like go to bonfires and get high in the dorms and screw around. I decided to switch my major to philosophy, which was really fun, but also literally the fewest credits I could have in a major, which would still let me graduate. That was an easy switch. But then I also got really involved at the college radio station, started making dumb radio shows with my friends, and then soon after college, I got an internship with SiriusXM, wanting to get into radio, and that kind of just set me on the path I'm on now in a whole audio-focused direction.
That's so funny because, like, computer science, they say basically you should just get a minor in math because there's so much math involved.
There's a huge amount. It's very mathy, but it's also fun. There's a lot of creativity to it too, in terms of like finding the right solution. It's if you like kind of math puzzles and things like that, it's very satisfying.
You love puzzles,
and I
riddles.
definitely do love puzzles. So for me, this is a little bit of a return to something I was a huge fan of and really invested in for a long time, that it kind of set to the wayside for my career, but I want to continue as a hobby.
So when is it coming out? Are you working on it still
right now? I got over COVID is when I kind of got bit by the coding bug again and decided to learn Unity and learn C# and refresh my skills there. And then I started working on a game that I got 6 months into and was like, this isn't fun. And I trashed it, started working on another game that I trashed. This is the first one that I'm like, I think this is actually fun. I'm not going to trash it. I've been working on it for about 18 months, and I think it's about 2 months away from being done.
Oh, yeah, I'm so excited.
I predict... I don't know how far ahead of schedule you are, but I think by the time this episode comes out, it's either going to be close to ready to be out or maybe even already out.
Or maybe just about to be out. Maybe I'll time it just right. Who knows? And it's called Doomsday. And do you think it's going to be like on Steam? Or
my goal is I want to get it on Steam. I want to get it on the Apple Store. It'll be kind of a PC, Mac, maybe iOS thing. I don't know. I'm very new to this world, and I'm a solo developer, and they have all sorts of weird rules to get in the Steam store. But that's the goal, is to make it Steam ready.
Okay, I'm so excited. Doomsday, so I cannot wait. And by the time this comes out,
check it. It's a card game roguelike. If you're into games like Slay the Spire or Marvel Snap, I think would find something to enjoy in it.
Now, as always, my guest gets to bring their topic to the mic. So, Josh, why don't you tell us what your topic is and why you decided to choose it?
I'm going to try to figure out the shortest way to just put it in a phrase, but I kind of want to talk about modern Jewish film or Judaism in film currently, or the intersection between Judaism and film. Well, hold on one sec. Before we get to the topic, we got to take a break.
popular demand, the Video Archives merch store is up and running. Get your favorite t-shirts, hats, notebooks, stickers, and more at videoarchivesmerch.com. You know me. I write all my notes in the Notes on Cinema notebook, the Gala edition, of course. Check out videoarchivesmerch.com to get yours today.
Hey everyone. We've all struggled with one-size-fits-all weight loss plans that just don't work. It's like wearing shoes that don't fit. That's why I want to introduce you to Noom. Unlike those cookie-cutter diets, Noom creates personalized plans tailored to your unique needs. With Noom, it's not just about losing weight. It's about understanding your body and mind. They consider your dietary restrictions, medical issues, and lifestyle, meeting you where you are on your health journey. Noom feels so personalized. It doesn't restrict what you eat. You can enjoy treats without shame. Instead, Noom helps you to make smarter choices and build healthier habits. The daily lessons and coaching helps keep you motivated, focusing on progress, not perfection. Noom's approach is a game changer, rooted in psychology and biology. Over 5.2 million people have found success with Noom, and active users lose an average of 15 pounds in 15 weeks. Stay focused on what's important to you with Noom's psychology and biology-based approach. Sign up for your trial today at Noom.com. Based on 3.5 study of actively engaged Noom users with minimum starting BMI of 25. Individual results may vary. Visit our website for more information.
Got great ideas, but no idea how to build a website? Get Bluehost. Their AI design tool creates high-quality WordPress sites super fast. Whether you're a blogger, influencer, or launching a side hustle, Bluehost helps boost your growth with built-in marketing and e-commerce tools. Upgrade to cloud and get 100% uptime and 24/7 security to stay online all the time. Why wait? You've got the vision. Make it real. Visit Bluehost.com to get started.
Hey, thanks so much for being a loyal listener. If you want to keep up with me off mic, make sure to follow me on Instagram at Gala Avery.
Do you have what it takes to achieve world domination? Find out in Doomsday, a new card game for Mac, PC, and iOS. You are a mad scientist determined to take over the world by creating the ultimate Doomsday device. Your deck of cards is full of components that will make your weapon ever more devastating and powerful. Enemies from teenage bullies to forest witches will try to stop you, but with over 150 cards and 100 priceless artifacts to collect, only a fool would stand in your way. Created by developer Josh Richmond, co-producer of the Video Archives podcast. Ever heard of it? Doomsday is a single-player deck-building adventure that rewards crafty tactics and mastery of controlled chaos. Support indie games with this original labor of love from a 3-person team. Get it today for just $5 on Steam for Mac and PC, and in the Apple App Store for iPhone and iPad. Learn more at doomsdaygame.xyz. Your victory is close at hand. And we're back.
So you heard it here. We're going to be talking about modern Jewish filmmaking. I have 30 minutes on the clock, and our time starts now. Okay, Josh, I have to ask you the first question. I know you have like a whole spiel, but how do you define the word modern? Because I talked to another guest. Her name's Larissa Kolesnikova, and she's an art curator. And she gave me the difference between modern and contemporary in art, which contemporary means they're still living.
I'm thinking of it as like movies from like the last 10 to 15 years, I guess.
Okay, cool.
More or less. Although, as I'm kind of digging into this, the short version of why I pitched this as a topic.
Yeah, I want to know.
I love movies. I don't know.
Oh, do you really?
I do. I don't know. I say that because I don't know if I love movies as much as you or your dad or the other guy we work with.
Yeah, that guy. That guy. What's his name? Quentin.
Yeah, but I do love movies, and I have been sort of thinking that I have like a thesis in mind of like something that I might write like a movie essay about of a trend that I have noticed in movies from the last 10, 15 years or so. Although I think you could even go further back and tie this into like Elaine May and Woody Allen and all sorts of like, classic Jewish filmmakers. Yeah. But like there's a lot of movies from the last decade plus have this sort of like super high anxiety tone that it kind of feels a little bit like horror, but it's not really a horror movie. And it feels a little bit like very black comedy, but it's not quite a comedy. And they're usually taking these really big, surreal, weird swings. And usually these are movies that you love them or you hate them. Like everybody I talk to is like, nobody ever falls into the middle camp on these movies.
I know, it's so funny because like the names that you gave me when you were like, I want to pitch this. Okay, Darren Aronofsky, Ari Aster, the Safdies, Emma Seligman?
Emma Seligman, who made Shiva Baby and Bottoms.
Yeah, Jane Schoenbrunn, Noah Baumbach, and the Coen brothers.
You can throw Charlie Kaufman in there too.
Charlie Kaufman. Okay, I'm going to be honest. I don't know if I like any of these directors.
That's totally okay, and that's what I think maybe makes this an interesting conversation, because I think these are directors that like, I even among my friends, oftentimes they make movies that really alienate people, but if you're on this really specific wavelength, it's like nothing else, and it feels like it's like almost like a whole genre being born. And I think it is noteworthy that basically all of these filmmakers are Jewish. And I think that there's a very specific Jewish strain that runs through these movies that I'm trying to tease out, that I'm really interested in. And I'm gonna like write about it and call it modern Jewish film or something, but I'm kind of trying to tease out like, what are the common features that these movies have? Why do I think they tie into Judaism specifically? Why are all these filmmakers Jewish, etc.?
I mean, that is a really good thing to bring up, though, because when I started looking up other directors, and you kind of mentioned like Elaine May and Woody Allen that you could tie in, because I was trying to find this difference between like kind of modern and like, and film as a medium is so weird because it's actually such like a new medium. Yeah. Like art, you can go like hundreds and hundreds of years. Film, we have, when
it's like it's a century plus, like I don't know, 120 years or so.
And when we say modern filmmaking, we are really talking about the last 10 years, because when I dug into other Jewish directors, okay, Woody Allen, Sidney Lumet, Billy Wilder, Stanley Kubrick, Ernst Lubitsch, Fritz Lang, Steven Spielberg, Roman Polanski, David Cronenberg, Sam Raimi.
It's not like there's a shortage of Jewish filmmakers.
George Cukor, Michael Mann, Rob Reiner, Mel Brooks, J.J. Abrams. Oh my gosh, the list just goes on and on. There are tons. It's our industry. Like there are tons of Jewish filmmakers, but as you mentioned, these modern Jewish guys, especially like Darren Aronofsky and Ari Aster, and Kaufman, their movies are really dark.
Oh my god, incredibly dark. And so I also think there is kind of an interesting lineage of a lot of these filmmakers you mentioned too. Like earlier this year I saw The Heartbreak Kid for the first time. Elaine May's The Heartbreak Kid, which I'd never seen, and
it's hard to find.
It's hard. I was excited I had a chance to see it in a theater and see actually see it on a print, which was really cool. But I was shocked watching that and being like, oh my god, this has so many elements of this thing I'm talking about too. Of like, that's not necessarily an explicitly surreal movie, but it is. It starts with a character who is getting married to a Jewish woman in a Jewish wedding, and spends the entire movie trying to escape from that and switch over to this other life where he gets to date a woman who looks like Sybil Shepherd and be in this extremely Christian Gentile world.
It's kind of funny. Also, The Graduate's kind of like that too,
yeah,
because
oh my God,
it's all about he is a Jewish guy entering into the Gentile world, and it's just this very fascinating. And also, that movie is very unsettling. I don't know. It's very funny, but it's also unsettling.
Well, it's got this very like. So the Graduate is maybe the most famous example of a movie that has like a very ambiguous resolution where you don't really know if it's a happy ending.
Like what's next?
What's really next? And I think one of the common features I think in all these movies I'm thinking of movies like Uncut Gems, Beau is Afraid, A Serious Man. Maybe like I Saw the TV Glow, some Mothers, a lot of movies like this. They end in a place where it feels ambiguous and it feels unresolved.
You don't know what's coming up next.
Right.
Out of these directors that you mentioned, okay, I did like Bottoms. I just have to say out loud because
Bottom's
I did
very, very
not
funny.
like Shiva Baby, and it's funny because all my Jewish friends loved Shiva Baby.
I loved Shiva Baby, and Shiva Baby is completely hitting exactly this thing I'm talking about. It felt very, very relatable.
That's the funny thing is like my Jewish friends said they felt seen by Shiva Baby. They're like, this is exactly what it's like, and maybe it's because I'm not Jewish and I have never been to like a Shiva, and I don't know what it feels like, but like it was so uncomfortable for me. And I also just feel that way about like especially Darren Aronofsky. Like his stuff is so dark and so like and Kaufman, it's like I don't want to watch it.
That's that thing. It's like I do compare it to a horror movie because I think
Yes,
a lot of people have allergies to horror movies for a similar reason, where it's like, why would I want to go to a movie and have this experience of being scared? Why does that sound fun? And for horror movie devotees, you're like, well, it's like a thrill ride. It's like you're getting to really like be flushed with this feeling you're not getting anywhere else.
Yeah, a lot of these movies that we've kind of mentioned, I either feel so cringe when I watch them that I can't handle it, or they're just so dark because there is no happy ending, and I love a happy ending.
Yeah.
I think even like when I think about like the Coen brothers, for example, my dad and I have gotten into many discussions because I'm not a huge Coen brothers fan, and he says, "Oh, Gala, but when they're gone, you're really gonna miss them because even a bad Coen brothers movie is still good." But I think of the ones I like, and like Raising Arizona, it kind of does have a little bit of an ambiguous ending.
What are their happiest
but
ones?
it's one of the happiest ones.
You got to assume that dream ending is like that's they want you to feel like that's
they
the
want
future.
you to feel
At
like
the end of
that's the thing.
The Coens are probably my favorite directors, and they are
A Serious Man is your favorite movie.
A Serious Man
I think is what you told me.
is very close to the top of my list of my favorite movies. I just watched it again before this podcast, and it hits as every time I watch it, I get new layers out of it. I feel like
and I actually do love the Safdie brothers. I haven't seen Uncut Gems. I think you can guess it's because of the length of the movie. Like that's why I just never. But like, what is the one with Robert Pattinson?
Oh, Good Time.
Good Time.
Yeah.
I was going to say Bottle Rocket, but it's because there's the bottle on the cover. But Good Time is so good.
Good Time, Good Time has like it's this thriller. It's this very intense thriller. It's like it's not necessarily an easy watch all the way through, but it's electrifying.
So why do you think that these Jewish filmmakers all kind of have the same thread and like they're kind of tackling the same themes or emotions, or is it just like their upbringing, or is it the history of Judaism in general? Like,
I think that there's a really interesting connection between Judaism and anxiety and neurosis, which is obviously a thing that Woody Allen and people explored, but that these filmmakers like Aster and Aronofsky are kind of really digging into in a different way, not necessarily just having like an anxious protagonist, but really like trying to make you, the viewer, feel that level of anxiety on like a gut level.
Yeah, because Roman Polanski's Jewish.
Oh, for sure.
And I think he is kind of the closest, like when I think about like the old guard of Jewish filmmaking, because he has a lot of these kind of very black comedies of anxiety, like Tenant. Tenant is like so anxious.
Sure.
And Rosemary's Baby.
Rosemary's Baby, absolutely. I think has a thread of this. You're just like, oh, you're this terror of just like you're not being believed and the whole world is against you. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I do see that this has like kind of been a thing, but it really has become exemplified.
So to some degree, all religions you could kind of say, if you go back to the purpose of religion, it's like essentially to reassure its adherents about all these things that are unknowable in our world, especially death. That's always, I think a lot of theorists are like, well, a religion is basically there to explain death to people and help people come to terms with it. And different religions have different ways of doing it. Like, some religions will construct this very elaborate supernatural mythology of like, here's all the exciting stuff that's going to happen in the afterlife.
Like if you're good, you go to heaven. If you're bad, you go to hell. Here's what happens in heaven. Here's what happens in hell.
Exactly. Sometimes it's more encouraging, separate yourself from earthly desires. You just got to be like, you're just a stream in the river of life.
Reincarnation, etc.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think I often think of Judaism as the most earthbound religion. There's not really a focus on an afterlife. There's not really an expectation of removing yourself from desire. The Old Testament God of Judaism is terrifying and capricious and unpredictable. He will just kind of kill people for no reason constantly. And I think a running thread of Judaism that I think shows up in Jewish culture for millennia is you don't really understand why things happen in the world. You don't know why anybody does what they do. You can't predict it. You can't get ahead of it. All you can do is laugh at it. And I think that is where kind of early Jewish threads of comedy come through in like Yiddish folk tales, like you'll see at the beginning of A Serious Man, this kind of Yiddish style folk tale, and also sort of an acceptance of anxiety as almost a default state of life. Maybe you call it neurosis, but sort of this acceptance that like maybe you're always going to feel a little bit anxious because the world's always going to keep throwing weird shit at you, and you just throw up your hands and laugh. And it's an inherently Jewish state of mind to me. And I think that's why you see these Jewish filmmakers keep exploring this and keep exploring these worlds where unpredictable things keep happening and characters have to deal with it and characters make inexplicable decisions that have to be grappled with, and nothing ever resolves in a satisfying way, and you just have to live with that ambiguity.
It's so interesting because I definitely thought that, like, for example, like, I mean, Aronofsky and the Safdies and Aster, I felt like they all had like a common thread of like a theme, but I I didn't really track it back that far or track it, I guess, to their Judaism, because it's like I always associated Jewish filmmakers, to be honest, with blaxploitation, because a lot of the really great blaxploitation films are directed by Jewish guys.
Yeah. Well, and again, to be clear, like, as you pointed out with that long list, like, Jews have been all over Hollywood from the beginning.
Oh, yeah, they're everywhere, baby.
And this isn't a movie that exactly fits in with what I'm talking about, but, like, the Fabelmans is a really interesting watch along these lines.
Yeah, that is definitely interesting.
You know, Spielberg's kind of semi-autobiographical retelling of how he got into directing, and also specifically how that relates to his Jewish family.
Yeah.
And this feeling of, even while being obviously insanely gifted at what he does, obviously from even a young age, still always feeling like you're kind of an outsider in this world.
Yeah, and like really having to fight to get in.
Yeah.
I also just think it's interesting that there are certain filmmakers that are attributed with being Jewish that are not, like Norman Jewison.
Yes, not actually Jewish.
I have to say he's not actually Jewish, because I was going through the blaxploitation guys. Like I think Martin G. Goldman, The Legend of Charlie, Ralph Bakshi with Coonskin's Wizards. American Pop is a really good example, I think, also of this too, when you connect it, because it's like the anxiety of all the generational guilt and trauma that comes from like the very beginning. I think Arthur Marks, who did Detroit 9000, and Paul Molansky, Sugar Hill, maybe. But I know Michael Schultz is not Jewish, who did Car Wash and Which Way Is Up. I was just like, I have to clear up that these people are not Jewish, because I thought they were.
No, sometimes you just have kind of a Germanic sounding last name, and you got to clarify. No, they're just maybe from.
My name is Jewison, but I'm not Jewish.
Yes, exactly. But no, and also like in these modern movies, I think one of the big things that differentiates is maybe just in general the way that like serious film, art film has become more accepting of embracing genre and embracing surrealism and weirdness, which means that like, I don't know. I mean, obviously you see weirdness in like Woody Allen films and stuff, but like in a different way than maybe the boundaries that somebody like an Ari Aster is allowed to push.
Yeah, or like Mother.
Yeah.
Is so freaking wild, and like
a movie I absolutely love.
Oh, I love
think got completely misunderstood when it first came out.
I agree, and it's funny because I, as you've heard me say, I don't really like Aronofsky's movies, but I love Mother. Mother is fantastic.
It's a blast. It's so funny. First of all, I think people were like, "This is an unintentional comedy," and no, it is absolutely an intentional. comedy.
No, it is, and Jennifer Lawrence is so good in it.
She's great. She's
fantastic in it. But why do you think that you are specifically drawn to this? Do you think it's because you are Jewish, or do you think that there's something else to it?
It's a good question, and what I've been asking myself of like what I think part of this is me grappling with why as a moviegoer are these when movies are released every year, this is the stuff I gravitate to or keep coming back to or wanting, like the same way if you're watching a horror movie and you want that feeling, why I feel attracted to movies that give you that sort of like cringing, watching through your fingers, don't want to see what happens next feeling, which I feel like is rare but also sort of exciting. I don't know. I think it's watching filmmakers really just try to push boundaries in terms of what you're willing to see characters do on screen and the emotions the rises you're getting out of the audience. It's exciting to watch.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier that like specifically with Shiva Baby, all of my Jewish friends like really liked that movie because they felt seen. But it's also interesting because there's one director that we talked about, Ari Aster, who my best friend Diego loves Ari Aster, and he's not Jewish like at all, but he connects so deeply with the themes that he does. So I feel like there is like, it's not just because you're Jewish is why you're connecting with these directors. Like there's so many layers to it, because I think that's important, because it's like, yes, you see yourself in it, but you don't. I always say, like, I don't have to be a man to see myself as Jonathan in Rollerball.
1000%. No, I'm kind of like, I think I'm picking out a thread that maybe people are missing, but obviously a lot of people are attracted to these movies, or like people love Ari Aster and all these filmmakers. Yeah. I think Aster is another guy who I think just gets. People think like his movies are just totally out of control, or he doesn't understand when these movies are dipping into like camp or crazy or goofy territory, and he totally does. Like he's even like a Hereditary has moments where people will kind of like gasp and laugh as they watch it, and then catch themselves being like, "Why am I laughing at this horrific thing that's happening?" And that's an intentional reaction of like this uncomfortable why am I having these conflicted feelings about what I'm watching?
So I'm gonna be honest, I don't get it. I don't get it in most of these movies. I just don't get it. Why don't you think I get it?
I mean, I think it's there's
Because I was
something
able to
personal.
clump all of these directors together and be like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I don't really connect with any of their movies. Like maybe one or two, but as a whole, they're not typically directors I would go out of my way to see.
I mean, how do you feel watching? Are you just bored, or are you just like, I want to get out of the theater? Or
Sometimes
like-
I just really dislike it.
yeah.
I went to go see like Black Swan, for example. It was one of the
Yeah.
Aronofsky ones I hadn't seen. I went to go see it at the Bev. And oh my God, I was like counting the minutes. And I don't know if I told you this, but there was a girl in the theater shrieking, like literally. Ah, ah. But no, and like Shiva Baby, I felt so uncomfortable in Shiva Baby that like I almost didn't want to finish it. And then when Bottoms came out, everyone told me I had to watch it. And I almost didn't watch Bottoms because of Shiva Baby. And then I loved Bottoms.
Yeah.
But Bottoms is like a little bit more comical and funny.
It
and
is.
upbeat.
That's going for just big comedy
Just going for
swings.
big comedy. And like when I watch Good Time, like I really liked Good Time. But,
I would be so curious to hear what you think of Uncut Gems.
okay, I have to watch. I have to
Uncut
get
Gems
to it.
is one of the great movies of the last 10 years, like
Yeah.
unquestionably. And it's also just like really just bone specific portrait of a very specifically Jewish figure who is like making all these crazy decisions, but also it's exciting to be on this ride with him. Like he's just constantly like getting himself out of one crazy situation, putting himself in a much worse situation for no good reason. But you also see how he feels like it. He moves through these elite circles where he's hanging out with Kevin Garnett, he's hanging out with The Weeknd, he's hanging out with like high level auctioneers and all these people, but he's always an outsider in every situation. And you could feel that anxiety of like, why am I not accepted? How do I get ahead? How do I win? This is how I win. And that's a very Jewish theme too, is this feeling of being a perpetual outsider. Feeling
Yeah.
like you get to mingle with the elite circles. You get to sniff success, but you never actually get to be fully accepted as like the guy.
Well, it's really interesting for me also because we're talking about these directors of like the last 10 years. And I think I connect more with like the 70s and 80s
Yeah.
Jewish like paranoia. Like I really love, I mean, it's no secret, I really love Polanski.
Yeah.
I don't really watch a ton of Woody Allen because my mom does not like Woody Allen movies. So in my house, we don't really watch
I
Woody
also,
Allen.
frankly, have never really connected with Allen either. And
Yeah.
it's not just because of his biography. It's just like I watched.
His
just
movies.
it's just a weird tone.
And like Kubrick and Billy Wilder, like I love all those guys. And like obviously Michael Mann, like come on.
Sure, of course.
All those guys, like I love them. And then it's funny because like when it kind of gets to the modern guys, I feel like it gets so dark almost that maybe I'm just not catching the humor.
Yeah, I think oftentimes
It's getting darker and darker and darker.
I think
and darker.
oftentimes it's this really, really black comedy where
Yeah.
where the laughs are almost coming from I can't believe I'm watching this.
Yeah.
That's the Beau is Afraid experience to me. Is so you're just like, what is on screen right now? Why am I sitting through this? Why would anybody choose to make this movie? It's nuts.
A lot of my friends really connected with that movie. Like they really loved it and they really hold it dear. So like I want to watch. I haven't watched it.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm not gonna like it. And
I think
feel
based on everything you're telling me, you're probably not gonna like it.
But it's funny because like my friends like know, like I went to go see Long Legs and I texted a horror friend of mine beforehand. I'm like, do you think I'm gonna like it? And he's like, no, you're not gonna like
What
Long
did you? I just saw it. What did you think of Long Legs?
I did not like Long Legs.
I kind of liked it. I don't know if it was 100% successful, but I there was some cool stuff going on.
I mean, you and I can talk off mic because I don't want to spoil it because it
Yeah.
is fresh. But no, I didn't like it. I didn't connect it. But it's funny because my friends can correctly identify kind of like what I'm gonna like, and I hate not liking a movie. Like, there's nothing that irks me more than not liking
Yeah.
something, because like when you tell me about a movie that you really love from one of these directors, I want to relate and I want to see it through your eyes, and I want to be just as excited as you are about it. And when I'm not, and when I'm a hater, like with Poor Things, I am such a hater of Poor Things. Such a hater. Such a hater.
I thought that not a Jewish guy, but you could argue Lanthimos is playing around with a lot of the same themes.
Yeah,
too.
he is playing around with it, which is why I feel like it must be in the zeitgeist of
Yeah.
just like popular thought, because it's like just like he's not Jewish, but he is kind of tapping into these same things. And then my non-Jewish friends are able to watch these movies and really tap into these same things. So if there was, from all of this modern Jewish filmmaking, one like gateway movie that you would say, like someone like me, who likes a little bit of a happier thing, maybe just to dip my toe into, what would be like, how would I start getting into this?
I mean, I'm just gonna go back to a serious man.
You think
like
it's serious? Which I actually haven't seen, Josh.
Oh, you please go home and watch it. I think that's.
I will.
I think there's a reason that people have kept coming back to that as a movie that was really well liked when it came out, but I think has risen to, I think, the top of a lot of people's Coen brothers lists over the last like 10, 15 years. It's actually like very. It's because it has a lot of the elements we're talking about in one half of the movie, and then the other half of the movie is really just sort of in some ways, the most autobiographical movie of sort of like their life growing up Jewish in Minnesota in the 60s, what it's like to like have a bar mitzvah and be in these weird kind of insular communities, and it's just funny.
It's interesting though, because like, for example, Barton Fink.
Yeah.
I really hated Barton Fink when I watched. Like, I really hated it. Okay, it's been a few years. I think back about it all the time though,
right.
And I think about it, and I quote it like when he's like, "Throw a rock in this town, and you'll hit a writer, and do me a favor, throw it hard." And it's like, it's so funny.
In its way, despite all those surreal elements, I think it's one of the more honest movies ever made about Hollywood.
Yeah, I agree too. That's the thing. And so, like, sometimes it just takes me a little while to appreciate something, and then sometimes I just am a hater, and I hate being a hater so much.
And I definitely have this. It's funny you talk about like, oh, I don't ever want to watch a movie and not like something somebody else liked. And I think I have a little bit of a contrarian streak in me, where sometimes somebody will say, "Oh my God, I love this movie. You have to watch it," and I'll be like, "We'll see about that. I want to check this out." And
Josh, we're like the angel and devil on the shoulder, like
a little bit.
No, but it's funny because, like, I'm never afraid to be contrarian.
Right.
I am literally. I got in a really, really bad fight about Poor Things with a friend of mine, and we're not friends anymore because of it. And I'm just not afraid to be contrarian. But I feel bad when I start trash talking someone's movie that they really like. Because I'm like.
The funny thing about Poor Things, based on everything you're telling me, is I would say that's the Yorgos Lanthimos film that has the happiest ending. Like, if you like a happy ending, in some ways, like that's the one that's sort of like, oh, you really feel like they got everything they wanted.
I'm gonna eat up your time if I get into Poor Things. I'm just
right.
not. I'll tell you later. And I don't want to tell anyone about Poor Things in public because I feel bad. I feel gross about it. But are you gonna write this essay?
I really want to. I feel like I'm like you said, I'm working on a video game, and I'm now also like producing a handful of podcasts. But I do love writing. It's a thing I miss, and I think it's something it's. Sometimes I put a project away for a while, and then I'll go back to it. But at some point, it's going to get written.
Well, I mean, you used to write all the newsletters for Video
That's
Archive,
true too.
So it's like you have to. And you're a really good writer and a really good researcher too, is the
thing.
Thank
you. I for me, getting to do that with Video Archives, that was really me getting to feel like returning to writing regularly about movies was really exciting for me, and it was cool to have people read it and say how much they loved it. I was very happy about that.
So what was the movie kind of that you watched that got you thinking about this thread? Like, was there like a series of events that unfolded, or was it just?
I think it was coming back from Beau was Afraid. It was actually at the premiere of it. I was at the premiere here in Hollywood that like Mariah Carey and all these different people were at, and
Mariah Carey was at the premiere for Beau was
Afraid. I won't spoil it for you. Mariah Carey plays an important role in
Mariah Carey is in Beau was Afraid.
Not exactly. You'll see when you watch the movie.
Okay. If I watch.
if you watch the movie.
I feel like that's my contrarian. It's like, you have to see, you're gonna love it. If I watch.
But then I came back and I was like, I'm not gonna be able to get this movie out of my head. Tell my friends, like, you have to check this out when you're able to see it. Mm-hmm. And just everybody coming back to me being like, I'm baffled by this. Like, even people who loved Hereditary and Midsommar were like, why was this movie made? What is this? This seems like it's almost like he's having like a 3-hour, very expensive therapy session with himself.
But you know what? That is what filmmaking is.
Yeah. Yes.
Filmmaking
Oh my God.
is supposed
100%.
to be a therapy session for the director, like that, and the writer also, obviously. But it's how you exercise your demons artistically.
Yeah, I think maybe it's a movie that is just more naked about being openly trying to like exercise the director's demons more than the average film, especially now more than like just somebody making like the Guardians of the Galaxy 4 or something.
Well, it's funny because I feel like there are certain artists that make art for other people, and they make it for like money or for others to look at, and then there are certain artists that make art for themselves. Like, they really don't care how many people watch it, who watches it, and what they think of it. All that matters is that they've actually created it, and they have this neurosis or psychosis that it forces them to paint, to create, to do something.
So I think Beau is Afraid was the definition of a film that was like, this is for literally nobody on earth except Ari Aster. And I think in a way that made people almost angry. Like, a lot of the reactions were almost like, why would you give him this much money to make this film that it seems like nobody's going to appreciate except him?
Yeah, that is funny, because it's like I had my friends who like really, really loved it, and then I did have a few people that were just like, I don't get it, I don't like it. And it's like, or not even I don't get it, I don't like it. Basically, you're right, angry. Like, why did they allow him to make this? And that's a very interesting question when it comes to art. Why did someone allow someone else to make it? And it's like, well, because it's art, it's subjective.
So anyway, tying it back is basically telling my friends about this movie who were mystified and sometimes even angry about it, and then me going like, "Oh no, but it's doing this like high anxiety, surreal, divisive thing, kind of like Mother, kind of like Uncut Gems," and then being like, "Well, I hated those movies too for the same reasons," and me being like, "Well, okay, maybe this is just a thing I'm keying into that I don't know why I've keyed into this, but it does feel like it's a fledgling genre. I want people to keep iterating on these movies and make more of it and expand it."
No, I'm definitely interested, because it's funny. It's like then when you start bringing these up, and then you're like, oh wait, they are all Jewish, and oh wait, they are maybe all influenced by kind of the same directors, or oh, they all do have a comedy element, or oh, they do have these similarities. Because if you threw all these movies in a letterbox list and sent them to me, and I would be like, oh my god, Josh, these are all the movies I want to avoid. These are all the movies you can't get me to watch again. How did you know?
And I'm like, no, send me in one more time. Put me in, coach.
Isn't it funny that there's just like different movies for everyone?
Listen, there's plenty of movies that I feel like I have that same sort of allergic reaction to. I'm
like, give me one.
I don't know. I'm trying.
It's hard to think of one on the spot.
It is really hard for me to think of.
I think
one
it's
on the
harder
spot.
to think of a movie that you really hate on the spot than it is to think of a movie you really like on the spot.
Yeah.
My go-to answer is always Neon Demon.
Oh, I haven't seen Neon Demon yet.
Neon Demon just made me feel bad about myself, and I don't think it's a bad movie. I just think I had a really bad reaction to it.
You know, it's not exactly this, but I saw Furiosa recently, and I'm as big of a fan of Mad Max Fury Road as everybody else on Earth. And some people were coming out saying it's better than Fury Road, and I'm like, it's better than Fury Road. What I was just like I felt like something was just pushing me away the entire movie, and I couldn't describe it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I tend to agree. I tend to agree, Josh. I tend to agree.
All right.
I won't fight you on Furiosa. I'm not a huge fan though of Fury Road, but I will say I don't think it was better than Fury Road. But
Fair.
I love Sir George Miller. He's a sir in my household.
Of course, no, he's a legend.
One of the greatest Australian filmmakers. So, do any of these directors have like a movie coming out that you're really excited about?
I'm looking at the list. Are the Safdie brothers ever going to make a movie again? I don't even know.
I don't know. Also, who is this Jane Schoenbrunn?
Jane Schoenbrunn. Oh my God, I do want to talk about. I would love to talk about. I saw the TV Glow
because I haven't seen that one, but I feel like I've heard a lot about this director.
I think it is. It's up there. It's either up there with one of my favorite movies I've seen this year, or it is my favorite movie I've seen this year. I was really blown away by it. It's another of these movies that is being marketed as a horror movie. It's really not a horror movie. I'd also say it doesn't have that like black comedy streak that a lot of these other movies we're talking about have. It's a little bit downbeat. It's a little bit sad, but it has this sort of kind of surreal caught between worlds. Very much a movie with an ambiguous resolution where you don't know how to feel afterwards. Very much about kind of feeling like an outsider in this world. I thought it was just a very beautifully made film, and I don't even want to say too much about it. I think it's best kind of going in blind on that one. But I think she's a super, super talented director, and also Jewish.
Oh, well, there you go. I mean, I've heard a lot of hype about that movie, but I haven't like seen it. Is it out? I'm guessing it's out.
It is. Yeah, I think it's out on VOD now.
I think everything's out on VOD now.
Yes, of course.
It's just out there.
But yeah, I've heard the Coen brothers are reuniting to make a movie again.
I have heard that. Oh, the timer goes off with the Coen brothers reuniting.
There you go.
I think it's good that they reunite.
Me too.
When they were like, we broke up, I was like, you guys are not husbands. You guys are brothers.
I think if you've been making movies together for like 30 years, I kind of like the idea that like, you know what, we just have our own thing that at some point in this lifetime, I want to do my solo thing. And then we'll get back together at some point. We're brothers. We're always going to find a way back together.
The thing is, it was so dramatic though. Like it was like they broke up and it was like, they can't break up. They're brothers. Like, come on.
It was dramatic for us, but by all accounts for them, they were just sort of like, yeah, nothing. It was totally amicable. We just sort of wanted to do our own thing for a while, and we have families, and it's fine. It's great. I'm great.
Yeah, exactly. So that is all the time that we have for today. But Josh, is there any final thought that you'd like to share with the audience?
More Jewish representation in Hollywood.
Even
No,
more,
that's a
more,
joke.
more. Give it more.
Even more.
You
No,
know, they say that 2% of the United States population is Jewish, but I feel like 90% of Los
It-
Angeles
it,
is.
It does feel like it.
We're all here.
I don't know. I'm at Radio TFB on Twitter and Instagram, and if you have any thoughts to add about some of the stuff I'm talking about, because I don't know if I have a firm conclusion in mind yet, and maybe I'm overstating things about the connection to Judaism, but I'd love to hear from you. Again, I'm going to write this at some point. You can hold me to it.
There are a lot of film guys out there that
There
are going to be
sure
in
are.
your inbox.
Sure.
I know
Yeah.
that. So thank you so much to my guest, Josh Richmond, for coming onto the show. If you'd like to keep up with Josh or tell him more about modern Jewish filmmaking and help him gather his information, you can do so on his Instagram or Twitter at Radio TFB.
Oh, and listen to the Video Archives podcast.
Oh yeah. If you don't know what that is, go and look up Video Archives and go ahead and listen to it. So I'm Gala Avery, and this has been The Gala Show. The Gala Show is brought to you by Avery.com. This episode was executive produced by Roger Avery and produced by Gala Avery. Music composed by Andy Milburn. As always, I'm your host, Gala Avery. Copyright 2024, all rights reserved. Despite me sharing the same last name with this charity, I don't have any affiliation with it, besides the fact that the issue is very near and dear to my heart. Did you know that in the United States, 2.7 million children currently have a parent in prison, and it's estimated that 10 million children have experienced parental incarceration at some point in their lives? I was one of these kids, and as an adult, I am really grateful to be able to give back to Project Avery. Their mission is to build leadership from within by supporting community through programs such as mentoring and outdoor education, and also to remove the stigma surrounding having a parent that's incarcerated. You don't have to feel alone. If you know a kid who could use these resources or would like to donate money or time to the charity, please go to Project Avery, that's AVARY.org, to check out what this amazing charity is all about. Again, that's projectavery.org. Thank you guys from the bottom of my heart.
Shop early, save big, all month long during Black Friday build-up at Lowe's. Right now, get select pre-lit artificial Christmas trees starting at just $59.98. Don't wait to save. Shop these deals today, in-store or online, because Lowe's knows deals. Discount taken at time of purchase while supplies last. Selection varies by location.